up, you guys? Film Fan 0599 here again, and today we're going to review Season 2 of Marvel's The Punisher. So now, before I get into this review, if you're new here, I do go in depth into spoilers when I do these TV reviews. So if you haven't seen Season 2 of Marvel's The Punisher, I would advise that you don't watch this video. But if you have seen the season, or if you just don't care about spoilers, then you can continue on watching. So with that out of the way, let's talk about Season 2. So what Season 2 is basically about, it's about, Frank. He's been living kind of a low life ever since Season 1, and keeping it a little profiled until he sees a girl that is in a lot of trouble, and he decides to step in and save her. And now Frank has got himself back into basically this madness now, and now Frank is back to being how he was before. So what did I think of Season 2 of Marvel's The Punisher? Now, going into this season, I was very excited for the season for many obvious reasons. As you all know, the Punisher is my favorite comic book character of all time, and I thought Season 1 was absolutely magnificent. Season 1 is still my favorite Marvel show that Marvel has ever done, and it's right up there with BoJack Horseman as my favorite Netflix show. So I do love Season 1 a lot. I had a lot of expectations going into Season 2, and I will say, Season 2 did deliver on those expectations for the most part. I really enjoyed Season 2 of The Punisher. I do think it is a great Season 2. I did enjoy this season quite a lot. It is a great season, in my opinion. I did quite enjoy this season a lot. There was a lot of great stuff that happened in this season. So I would say it is a great follow-up to Season 1. So with that out of the way, let's now get into why I think this season is so great, starting out with the positives. So let's get right into them. So here are my positives with Season 2, first being the acting. The acting is still tremendous in this series. Jon Bernthal as Frank Castle / The Punisher is literal perfection. He is the living embodiment of this character. He embraces this character with so much ease and easily gives, in my opinion, he's now in my top 3 favorite comic book performances of all time. He just embraces this character with such ease and just embraces everything that is great about this character. And his acting is superb here. I do think he gives an absolutely tremendous performance. This is, in my opinion, his best performance, I feel like, honestly. And even before he was the Punisher, I always thought Jon Bernthal was a great actor. And, when he got cast all the way back in, Season 2 of Daredevil, I'm like, this is perfect. This is, the perfect guy you can get to play the Punisher. And he just embraces his character so much. And I absolutely love him in this series. He does an absolutely phenomenal job. A lot of the emotion and a lot of the things that he goes through into this season and are really great, honestly. And what I've stated before is what I love about the Punisher is not necessarily just his violent side. I love his more emotional side as well. There's a thing that happens in the season where he thinks he accidentally killed 3 innocent women, and he just starts questioning, am I just a monster like everyone else? You know what I mean? Because the Punisher does have standards. Sure, he does kill people, but there are standards that he does have, and he just comes to the realization that's am I just like everyone, all of them? Am I just the monster that everyone says I am? And it's really great stuff, and Jon Bernthal really brings that emotion quite well, to be honest. I do think he does an absolutely fantastic job in this season. Like I said, he easily gives his best performance, in my opinion, in this series, and this is just an absolutely fantastic performance. I absolutely loved the directions that they went with for Frank in this season, and I do think Jon Bernthal gives his all in this season. Ben Barnes is great too. It was awesome to see him back as Billy Russo now / Jigsaw. And, I do think he does an absolutely great job here. I know some people have had some issues with them not really doing much with the Jigsaw face, but, the fact that this is a much more grounded and much more I guess you want to say realistic kind of take. I do actually appreciate them not going full on crazy with it. Honestly, I actually do appreciate that, to be honest, because it would just look really silly and over the top in my opinion, and like this much more grounded kind of series that they're trying to do. And his face still looks pretty messed up, to be honest. Like, they still do a really good job. Like, I really like the makeup on it, to be honest. Like, it gave him such an intimidating look. And I do think Ben Barnes does give an absolutely great performance here. And this is probably my favorite performance from him as well, to be honest. Like, I just enjoy him so much in this season. And he does an absolutely great job, in my opinion. Like, Billy Russo now has like memory loss because of the whole thing. The only thing he can remember beforehand is the stuff that he did in the military, or just seeing the skull and whatever, doing this to him. And seeing that and just him being a complete other psychopath, basically, I thought he did an absolutely great job with that. I really enjoyed him in this season, to be honest. Like, he did a fantastic job here. Georgia Wingham, I believe that's how you say her name. She plays Amy in this series, and I enjoyed her a lot, honestly. Like, I thought her and her interactions with Frank were great, to be honest. Like, it was like a perfect match for the two of them. And at first they don't really get along, but then towards like the middle and like the end of the season, they become a good pairing and stuff like that. And I really enjoyed that. Like, I really enjoyed her interactions with Frank during the season. She was really great. Like, I really enjoyed her character a lot. Jason R. Moore, I liked even more in this season than I did actually in season 1, to be honest. Like, I really enjoyed the character of Curtis in this, and especially his interactions with Frank as well. I thought, the interactions that he had with Frank were really great in my opinion as well. Amber Rose Riva, I believe that's how you say her last name, comes back as Madani, Agent Madani, and she's great too. I enjoy with the stuff that they did with her in this season as well. Josh Stewart plays John Pilgrim in this season. He's pretty much the new villain, per se, for this season. I thought he was intimidating, man. The first moment, like, just within the first moment you see him, he's just intimidating as hell. Like, he's such a menacing presence, in my opinion. And just, oh, man, like, just the moment you see him, you're already like, man, this guy is not, like, this guy has somewhat of an icky feeling with me, and I really enjoyed that, to be honest. I do think he did a great job with that, and he was intimidating as a villain. You do kind of feel bad for him towards, like, the end of the series once, you start to learn more things, and I do think they did a great job with that, and Josh Stewart's performance is really fantastic. I thought, he did a great job in this season. Definitely going to look out for him more in the future. So yeah, overall, I do think the acting is really great in this season. The action set pieces are fantastic. Right up there with Daredevil as some of the best action I've seen on television, to be honest. I really love the action here. It's brutal as hell. It is The Punisher at its finest. It's brutal. It's, kind of, just in your face. It's great. I do think they do a really great job with a lot of the action set pieces in this series. Like, I do think they do a really great job with the action set pieces in this season. Like I mentioned before, I like a lot of Frank's interactions with a lot of the characters in this season. Like, I really loved his interaction with Amy. I thought that was great. Like, I thought the two of them really had great chemistry, to be honest. I quite enjoyed them a lot. Like, they did a really fantastic job in this season. I thought their chemistry was absolutely fantastic. His chemistry with Curtis, like I mentioned before, I like their interaction as well. Even the interactions between him and, Agent Madani are great. Like, just, Frank just has, like, he just does a great job. Like, John Barenthal just, has a great, like, presence. And, you really, like, feel like when, these two, like, when he's paired up with someone, they have great chemistry with each other, because it just seems like they get along so easily, to be honest, you know what I mean? And that's what, makes it great when two actors are, like, working together, They just make it seem easy to work with each other, And I do think they do a really great job with a lot of the character interactions in this season. I really thought the writing was really good with this season, to be honest. I thought the writing was really fantastic. The directing is great with the season 2. I thought the directing was absolutely fantastic with this season. Some really well-shot moments here. Honestly, the cinematography is absolutely gorgeous. The way that they just get this muddy and kind of dark world that they're living in is really great and really builds a nice atmosphere, in my opinion. And you gotta do that with Punisher. Punisher, it's not happy games or, like happy-go-lucky, it's a dark, unsettling world, and they do a great job with that in this season. The way that they build with that in this season is really fantastic in my opinion. I really did think the directing was really great in my opinion. For the most part, I do think the pacing is really good with the season, to be honest. I do think, it moves at a nice natural pace, to be honest. There really hardly were times where I was bored. I'll get more into it a little bit later on, but for the most part, I was invested for a good majority of this season. Now, time to talk about what I usually do with these television reviews, the 6 defining moments of the season, where I kind of go in detail and talk about some of my favorite moments of the season. So here we go. Firsthand, pretty much the opening sequence, like the first episode. In the opening sequence, we see, Frank is driving down and there's people chasing him, and, some people parking, like, in front of him and stuff like that, and, they bring out guns, and Amy's like, what do we do now? And Frank just pulls out, like, a rifle and shoots them all and just backs up the truck into the car behind them. Like, we were barely 2 minutes into the season, and just already brutality is happening. And then towards the end of the episode, like, this was beforehand, this was like a couple hours beforehand, the opening sequence, and then we see the full-on fight that happens later on. And just when Frank's, like, beating the crap out of all of them in this bar, it was a brutal sequence, too. Like, honestly, like, it was brutal as hell. It got violent real quick. And it was great. Like, it was really great action set piece, in my opinion. Definitely one of my favorite, not only of the season, but one of my favorites of the series in general. Like, I really loved that bar fight that happened in this season. It was really fantastic. Like I said, brutal as hell, but man, was it awesome to watch, in my opinion. Speaking of brutal fights, we get a prison fight in season, like a prison battle in episode 3, and it's really great. Like, I really enjoyed that prison battle so much. It was so awesome, in my opinion. I enjoyed that so much. Like, I really thought that was a great action set piece, in my opinion. And someone was like, oh, Marvel remade Assault on Precinct 13, and that's pretty much what it felt like, to be honest. It was great. Like, I really enjoyed that set piece a lot. And, Frank just taking out all the bad guys was great. Like, it was awesome to watch. Like, they get arrested, Amy and Frank, and one of the bad guys do as well. And, Frank is like, they just let him loose, and it's great. Like, I really like that a lot with this season. I thought they did a fantastic job. So that was a great sequence, in my opinion. Quite enjoyed that a lot. Next up is a fight scene that happens in a gym. Man, I guess you can't take Frank to the gym because he's just gonna beat the crap out of everybody, because man, was that awesome. Just beating the crap out of everybody in that gym was fantastic. Like, he's smashing weights over them. He's just beating everybody up. Also, shout out to Vladimir Kozlov from WWE being in this fight sequence. When I saw him, I was like, oh my god, it's Vladimir Kozlov. What's he doing here? It was great to see that, especially since I've gotten back into wrestling recently. It's kind of awesome when I see just a wrestler kind of just appear out of nowhere in these type of things, and just that was unexpected. I thought that was awesome. So shouts out to Vladimir Kozlov for making an appearance in this fight sequence. And man, it's just brutal as hell. Like I said before, like a lot of the action sequences in this season, and it pretty much embraces everything that it needs to embrace with the Punisher. The next one I want to talk about is this freeway chase sequence that happens during episode. It ends at episode 7 and leads into episode 8. I think it's really cool. And this was when because they're tracking down Billy Russo because he's escaped and stuff like that. And now he's with this gang and whatever. And it's really great. Like, Frank comes up, he's like in the mask and in the military vest, and he's like, Russo! And just, takes it off. Has the Punisher skull on. That's the first time we see him wear the skull in the entirety of the season. And it's awesome. And Billy just freezes because he's like, oh no, it's coming back. And, because like I said, Billy's had memory loss throughout this season. So once he realizes it's Frank, he's like, what the hell, because he doesn't know what happened, because like I said, he has memory loss, so he has no clue what he did to Frank and his family and stuff like that. So it's really awesome, and just that chase sequence was great. Honestly, like it got brutal real quick. It was an awesome chase sequence. Like I love how it ends at episode 7 and just goes straight into the beginning of episode 8. It's really cool. I really enjoyed that a lot. And when Billy's like, you did this to me, Frank, he's like, you're damn right I did. And it's really fantastic, honestly. Great stuff, in my opinion. And I quite enjoyed that a lot. Like, another thing I forgot to mention is I like Frank's interactions with Billy. Like, that was one of my favorite things about season 1, and, it continues here in season 2. And I do think they do a really great job. Like, both Jon Bernthal and Ben Barnes have really good chemistry with each other, and I quite enjoyed them a lot, especially in this sequence. Now the next one I want to talk about is the final fight between Frank and John Pilgrim. These two just battle one last time, and it's great. Like, honestly, like, it was the fight scene I think we were all waiting for throughout the entirety of the season, and it's really fantastic and really brutal as well. My favorite moment in the entire fight sequence is when Frank goes to pick up the rifle that John dropped, and he tries to shoot him in the face, and he's just like, and it's empty, and he's like, crap, and just and then just gets punched the crap out of by John Pilgrim. And man, they beat the hell out of each other, man. Like, definitely one of the most brutal fight sequences I've seen in quite some time, to be honest. Like, they just beat the holy hell out of each other. And John Pilgrim, before Frank's about to kill him, he's like, do whatever you want to me, just don't hurt my sons. And this is what people kind of overlook about Frank, is that he still has a human side to him. And, he doesn't kill him. He gives his children back to him. He takes care of, like, the people that basically wronged him and stuff like that. And he got his children back. And, he doesn't kill him. Especially, and you would think, especially after the stuff that, Frank put him, that John put Frank through, he would just end it right there. But no, he understood. And that's what I like a lot about Frank as a character. And that's what I think a lot of people overlook with Frank as a character. He's not just some merciless killing machine. He can have a human side to him. And I think this moment really shows that perfectly, to be honest. Now, the last moment I want to talk about is a final shot. That final shot in the season. So, after the dust is settled with everything, we cut to 3 months later. We see Frank in a car. He's over by a warehouse. Basically a drug deal's going down. And Frank, this is when Frank fully embraces the mantle of the Punisher. After 2 seasons, he finally just embraces, this is who I am, and this is what I need to do. And when we go to that last shot, he's like, hey, I'll dance with you. And then he just pulls out 2 assault rifles and just blows everyone up. And he's just, he's screaming, and it's great, and it just ends on that shot. And honestly, it works as both a final shot for the entirety of the season, for the entirety of the series, I should say, and it works as leading into something more for the future. It doesn't really feel like one or the other. I do think if this does get canceled, because, Netflix has been canceling all these Marvel shows, if this does get canceled, it does work as a final hoorah for Frank. You know what I mean? He's fully embraced who he is, and he just, this is what he's got to do. And it does work, honestly. So if this does get canceled, of course I'm going to be upset, but I'm not going to be too like extremely upset, because at least it ended off on a note that makes it feel like a final shot for the series. You know what I mean? But it also, if this does get renewed for a season 3, it also works as something leading into more. You know what I mean? Like, okay, now he's fully embraced who he is. Now let's, could we see what he does now with this fully embraced Punisher in another season? So I think it works as both a final shot for the entirety of the series and just also something leading into another season. I think it works as both, to be honest. So if this does get canceled, what a way to end it off, to be honest, and what a shot to end it off, to be honest. But if it does get renewed for a season 3, that just gets me more excited. I'm really excited to see what they could do with him fully embracing the mantle of the Punisher. Now, there were a few negatives that I did have with this season. Very few, but there were some things that I didn't kind of like. First being, I do think the season does get a bit slow at times. I do think, especially during kind of the second half, to be honest, it does get a bit slow. But I want to say by, like, really episode, like, I want to say, like, episode, like, 8, it does kind of pick up back up again. Like, going, like, you know, where it needs to be, but from like, it does get a bit slow, to be honest. There are some times when the season does get a bit slow and does become a bit uninteresting. And lastly, I did not really care for Billy's relationship with his therapist. I felt that was very forced to me and didn't really come off, like, it just came off as something that just Billy needed, to be honest. Like, it didn't really necessarily work that much for me, and I felt like it was kind of just forced, and I didn't really care for it all that much. And really, that's all negative I really got to say about this season. So overall, Marvel's The Punisher Season 2, I do think it's a great season. It's not as perfect as Season 1, but it's still a great season, man. I still enjoyed a good majority of the season, and you know, it's still probably the best adaptation we're ever going to get of this character, to be honest. I cannot really see anything topping this in terms of adaptations of this character, to be honest. Like, as a fan, as a huge fan of this character, and you know, this character being my favorite comic book character, it's everything I could have possibly wanted out of an adaptation, to be honest. I'm more than grateful and thankful for that. And it's a really great season, honestly. I quite enjoyed Season 2 a lot. So it's time for my official grade on Season 2 of Marvel's The Punisher. My official grade on Season 2 of Marvel's The Punisher is an A-. I do think it is a great season. I quite enjoyed it for the most part, to be honest. Some really great moments, some of the best moments not only of the season, but of the entire series in general, to be honest. I quite enjoyed this a lot. And, you know, it was a great season overall, honestly. I really enjoyed this a lot. It is a great season, in my opinion, and I did enjoy it a ton. So, yeah, it definitely does deserve an A-. So, if you have seen Season 2 of Marvel's The Punisher, what did you think of it? Please leave it in the comment section below. And I'm FilmFan0599, and we will see you about later. Peace.